Hi everyone. If you've seen my posts here and listened to the podcast episode this week, you know I declared this week the week of sacred time. I've heard some questions coming up about it and I wanted to address those here. But I want first to start off with a confession of my own. So in the Netherlands we have lockdown and some homeschooling very little working hours left. And while preparing for a full launch of my online course, the Intuition Toolkit, at the end of the month, that doesn't combine very well. So while I still very intentionally take my sacred time every day, it's really only for a few minutes. But you know what I always say, it's about keeping the promise to yourself to take that time and not about how much of it you actually have. So it's about the intentional element in the act of sacred time too. So not just doing it for the doing of it, but really intentionally do what you intend to do, if that makes sense. So those questions. The first one was, what is sacred time? Can you talk a bit more about it? Okay, so it's time in your day, every day, you intentionally set aside to spend on connecting to yourself. That's it. It's a promise you make to yourself. There's nothing obligatory about it. You can make it easier to keep the promise by making it a set time every day. And you can also help yourself by writing down 1 to 3 practices or exercises or habits you want to do at that time. So why should you even take sacred time? And the obvious answer, of course, is that we're super busy and often forget to take care of ourselves. But there's more. Sacred time is intentional, as I said. It is a promise to yourself. And by doing it that way, intentionally, and by making it about connecting to your innermost self, to the core of who you are, you give out messages to yourself subconsciously that you are worth taking time for, that you value yourself enough to give yourself that dedicated time. You tell yourself really, you are important, you are special. You give out the message that you trust yourself and even build on unconditional self-love. So that's worth spending a few minutes on every day, right? Okay, and another question was, what does it matter if you do it or if you really don't? So I talked about the benefits a lot, but what if you choose not to do it? So the main thing is, nothing will change. Your connection to yourself will remain as it is. And maybe that's fine. Maybe you're already living very much in alignment with yourself. But if you do have a desire to build that connection, to tune into yourself more, your wishes, your possibilities, your true feelings, if that's something you want, then this sacred time can be a very simple way to start building that. Another one was, how long does it have to take? So, as I mentioned earlier, and in other content too, the amount of time is not really that important. The importance is that you make that promise to yourself and keep it, of course. So if you're very busy, it would actually be countereffective to promise to take 2 hours every day. Setting the intention, making the promise, dedicate that time, that's what this is about. So make sure to pick the amount of minutes you can actually live up to. And if you've been following me a bit, you know there's also something called the 2 minutes a day routine. It's really true. 2 minutes can set in motion enormous change for your connection to your true self, if you do it intentionally and every time. So what can you do during that time? First and foremost, the most important thing, I'll say it again, is that you do it. If you just have a few minutes to just read a book, that's great. Especially if you are intentional about it. So I mean, if you take that time intentionally and sit down to actually read the book. But because sacred time is not just me time, but intentional time to connect to your core self, there are some things you can do to make this time count extra. For example, take a few minutes to be silent and focus on intentional breathing. Don't force your breath while doing it, but just feel where it goes inside. See if you can feel subtle movements inside your body from the in-breath or the out-breath. And the good part of this exercise is too, that while connecting to yourself, giving your system a few minutes to reboot, you also train yourself in becoming aware of sensations in your body again. And that, in turn, is an amazing practice to deepen your intuitive work. Because using your intuition as a guide in your life works by being attentive of what happens. And one of the biggest areas where your information will then come from when using your intuition is from the sensations and knowings within your own body. So we simply cannot underestimate the value of attentive breathing practice. But there are other things you can do, of course, a million possibilities. I can recommend journaling just for a few lines, for example, about gratitude or what you want to let go of. You can think of a favorite inspirational quote and use that as a mantra. You can close your eyes and focus on grounding your feet, really attentive to how they feel on the floor, how your buttocks feel while sitting in the chair. Feel if there is a part in your body that requires attention, and softly see if some tension can flow away down into the earth. You can have a sketchbook with you and take it out to draw in your sacred time. You can do some free movements, dancing with music or just moving however it comes up for you. These are all examples that don't have to take more than only a few minutes. Okay, that's it. I hope I inspired you to take sacred time to make that commitment to yourself. Okay, bye for now.